Hey Year 12, we're back. Solving linear equations today. What does that mean? Well, it means that we need to find the value of an unknown in an expression that contains an equal sign. Yeah, how about that? Solving, find the value of the unknown. Equation has an equal sign. Linear means that it's no greater power of x than 1. Means it doesn't have an x squared or something like that. Okay, we've probably done these before. They are particularly important. They're not necessarily the easiest thing that you do. They're not that hard. They're not the easiest thing you do. We are going to have 2 videos to cover this section here. Okay, just so we can take our time. First example here. I know it says example 10. It's our first example here to solve this expression, this equation. A couple of options. There are 2 good ways to go about doing this. The first way I'm going to do is I am going to remove the brackets here, right, by expanding using the distributive law, and that means that 3x minus 15 equals 18. Okay, nice neat work here would mean that my equal signs all line up so that we can recognise the left-hand side and the right-hand side. They don't line up here because my work is not that neat, but it should be. Next thing we want to do here is I'm going to take this constant term, it's constant because it doesn't have a variable, doesn't have any letters. I'm going to add 15 to both sides, right, and that will remove this term here. So that means I've got 3x equals 18 plus 15. Right, by adding 15 to both sides, this term disappears, and I have a plus 15 over here. Now this means that 3x equals, I'm going to leave a little bit of working out, 3x equals 33, so x equals 33 over 3, right? I'm dividing both sides by 3, and x equals 11. Magic. Now I can check that that's the correct answer, not by doing it again, but I can substitute back in. I don't expect you to do this every time, but it's a good way to check. If x equals 11, 11 minus 5 would be 6. 3 lots of 6 are 18. Right, that confirms that we've got the right answer. I said there were 2 good ways of doing this. That's the first way, and I think probably the best. Let's have a look at the second way. Okay, I could do this, and this way is probably better. Not by expanding, but by dividing both sides by 3 to begin with. Okay, and that would mean that x minus 5 equals 18 over 3. Divide both sides by 3, that means that 3 there is gone. I don't need the brackets anymore because there's nothing outside of them. So, that 3 is gone. We've divided both sides by 3. That means x minus 5 equals 6. 18 divided by 3 is 6. Let's write that down. X minus 5 equals 6. Add 5 to both sides. There's 6 plus 5. Means x equals 11. Right? We saw before, that's the same answer we got. I know that is correct. Either of those methods equally valid. This method here probably has 1 fewer lines of working. Now, let's have a look at the second question here. I have probably an easier example, I think. Different steps. What I want to do to begin with here, I want to get all of my variables, that is terms with an unknown in them, I want to get them all over on the left-hand side. So I'm going to subtract 4x from both sides. Right? There's a 4x here, I'm going to subtract it. Subtract 4x here. There we go. First step. No variables on the right-hand side anymore. 6x minus 4x equals 4. 4 taken away from both sides. 4x taken away from both sides. Right, let's simplify that down a bit. That means that 2x equals 4. Yep. Right, 6x minus 4x equals 2x. 4 still equals 4. 2x equals 4, that means that x equals, I could say 4 divided by 2, but do you really need to write that down? Probably not. Right, we know 4 divided by 2 equals 2. Right. If 2x equals 4, then just the 1x equals 2. How do I check that that's the correct answer? I come back, substitute in, see what happens. 6 lots of 2 equals 12. 4 lots of 2 equals 8. 4 plus 8 equals 12. All good. Solved. Done. X equals some value. That means solved. That's it for this video. What I'm going to ask you to do now is to have a look in our OneNote. You will see that there is something called there under our classwork linear equations worksheet. There are there's lots of questions there for you to practice. You don't have to do all of them. The spreadsheet is what it is. It's based in Excel. It will tell you if your working is correct. It will tell you if your answer is correct as you go along. It'll pop up in green. So I recommend that you have a go at that if this is not your greatest strength. Okay? Practice those until you're happy. There are, hundreds of questions there perhaps. You don't have to do all of them. Right? You don't have to do any of them if this is easy enough for you. But if you want the practice, I think that it's good practice. Do that now, and then once you're happy with those, let's look at the next video, which are some harder equations.